Hey everybody, it's Pia. I am super, super excited to be here. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank the Yoga and Body Image Coalition, and I also want to thank NEDA, the National Eating Disorder Association, for making this possible. I just want to kind of start off by grounding ourselves a little bit before I kind of jump into what I'm going to be talking about today. Having said that, right before this happened, right before I came on live, I was supposed to meet somebody for coffee this morning, and I failed to put it in my calendar, and it got me completely out of whack. And just got me really, really, really feeling sensitive about just my perfectionism. And I realized that perfectionism is so tied to eating disorders, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Hi, Nikki. So glad to see you here. Hopefully more folks will join us as I kind of go through kind of a brief introduction. So I just want to start with, my name is Pia Schiavocampo, and I'm the author of a blog called Chronicles of a Mixed Fat Chick, which I've been writing for 8 years, since 2011. And that has actually been, oh, hey, what's up, Yoga and Body Image Coalition? Hey. I've been writing the blog for 8 years, which feels crazy to even say out loud, but I've been writing it for that long. That has been part of my healing journey. So I want to just talk a little bit about my own eating disorder journey and what my road to recovery looked like before I sort of jump into the workshop piece. So I really started dieting at a young age, around 12, which I think is not uncommon for many, many women and young girls. And I probably dieted on and off for up until like my mid to late 30s. I came from a household where there was a lot of emphasis placed on what your body looked like. And so I was, whether it was Weight Watchers or whether it was something else, Nutrisystem, I mean, you name it, I did all the diets. There was a lot of self-loathing, a lot of just not being able to see my own humanity and my own beauty. And I think that was very much triggered by my environment, and then also very much sort of triggered by society. And so that is sort of what led me to want to write the blog. I remember just before I started it that I was having conversations with girlfriends, and we were constantly talking about the pressures of having to be beautiful, of having to be thin. And I got to a point where I was tired of complaining about it, and I decided I wanted to actually do something about it. And so that's when I started to write my blog, Chronicles of a Mixed Fat Chick. And that has absolutely been part of how I have healed during this journey. Having said that, I want to also kind of jump in and say that the yoga, when I started doing yoga a few years ago, that was also a big part of my healing journey, because it was the first time that I was able to really be present in my body. And so that changed a lot for me. Because I think when I was in the space of dieting all the time, there was this sense, this outer body experience, where I was never quite present because I was using food to numb, or I was using starvation to numb, or whatever it was. My husband and I adopted baby almost 2 years ago. And so I haven't been on my mat in a long time, but this is a really great reminder to me that I absolutely need to get back on the mat. Just for my sanity, for the purposes of getting in touch with my body and realizing how strong she is. So having said that, let's go ahead and jump in, and we're going to talk a little bit about activities from my new book. So this book, Love It, is a book that I co-authored with Reagan Chastain and Jeanette DePatty, and the illustrations are by Tony Tales. So a few years ago, we got together and decided that we were really interested in writing a book that was about activities and affirmations that could be done anytime, as much as you needed, whenever, in no order, that would really support your journey towards healing, body positivity, and self-love. And so that was really, really exciting. And so for whoever is watching, part of what I'm going to be doing is anybody who's watching and decides to comment will be entered into an opportunity to actually win a copy of my book. So I wanted to say that also. So let's see. So there are 5 activities that I want us to kind of go through as we're thinking about how to fight diet culture. So I actually have recently written a blog about this. I'm just going to bring it up. And let's see here. Hang on one second. So I wrote a blog piece about this, I guess probably like several weeks ago or so. And it was really powerful for me to even look at these and start doing them myself. So the first one is, I think, rather simple. Not easy, but simple. And the idea is to spend time looking at photos on a body positive website. Now, you might go to my website, you might go to somebody else's. There's lots of great content out there. And what this actually really helped me on my own journey, which was that I was noticing the similarities between bodies on those sites and what I found attractive about those, and then being able to find that sort of beauty within myself. And when I first started writing the blog, I was obsessed with that. I was Googling images of plus size women, of fat women, of women who are around my age. I'm 43, and really starting to understand that the images that were being fed on a constant basis, are not real. And although I knew that intellectually, it really took me having to study and look at those bodies and see them without judgment. Because once I could do that, then I could start to look at my own body without judgment, to look in the mirror and not go, oh my God, this stomach, and oh, I need to fix this and I need to fix that. You know, it's a deep awakening that happens, I think, when you start to look at other bodies and try to find their beauty. So, you know, part of that for me was I stopped buying mainstream magazines. I started to curate my Facebook and my Instagram feed with images of people who looked like me. I think that's one of the awesome parts about social media, is that while it can feel like it disconnects you, it can also connect you to the kind of community that you may not be able to find where you live. Hi, Crystal. She says, I love admiring other beautiful fat bodies. Yes, absolutely. I do too. I remember early on, I interviewed Substantia Jones, who does these amazing, amazing photographs of fat people, which I love because it just helps to normalize those bodies, right? To not be afraid of them, to not judge them, to see them as less than or flawed. And that was really, really powerful for me. So the other thing that I think would be a terrific idea, particularly if you're kind of new to this work of starting your healing journey, is sending a note on behalf of your body to a merchant that is body positive. So if there is a line of clothing that you really like, and let's say they have extended sizes to 32, and they make pieces that make you feel like a badass, they make you feel beautiful, and they make you feel good about yourself, let them know. I think one of the big issues with some of the plus size brands, especially those who have sort of been late adopters of, you know, body positivity and understanding the value in offering a wide variety of sizes, is that they think that, not all, but I think some of them think that we just want oversized, shapeless pieces and we just want basics, when that's not it at all. We absolutely want all the cute, the quirky stuff that straight size folks can also wear. And so think about who those are, write a list, and I can guarantee you that those folks would really appreciate it. If you just go to Instagram, let's say you follow, for example, let's say Torrid, right? I did an awesome campaign with them last year around motherhood. And I think they are one of the companies that does a beautiful job of making pieces that fit really well, no matter what size you are, and making pieces that are really chic, that are in fashion, and that make you feel a part of. One of the things that I love is being able to shop with a girlfriend who is of a different size and not having to go to two different sections of the store. You know, like all the cute stuff is up front and your ass has to go all the way to the back. Like, oh, that's where I have to live. No, you don't. You absolutely don't have to live there. So, and I think one of the beautiful parts about that is that we're beginning to accept in a very small way that all bodies are worthy, right? And that we don't need to be on a diet in order to be worthy. I think a lot of what society is teaching us is that if we are not thin, if we are not working towards living in a thin body, then something is inherently wrong with us. And so we start to bring these moral issues into this space. And so one of the things that I think I struggled with a lot was that I often saw food as being good or bad. You hear people talking about their cheat day, which I find to be super, super triggering, because what does that really mean? Cheating on what? What does overeating mean? That is such a relative term, and that each body is so unique that you eat what the fuck you want to eat. You eat what feels good to you. And there are no good or bad foods. Food is not a moral issue. And I just want to say that because I think that with all the diet ads that we see, you know, with all of these things around clean eating and detox, those are all nothing but diets. That's exactly what they are. So I think that if you can start to shift your thinking around that, and again, surround yourself with a community of folks who are on the same page, that is going to do a lot to kind of boost your morale and be on that journey. Okay. So number 3. So as someone who studied sociology in college and who loves to observe others, and I think I get that from my mom, she's super nosy, she's always in everybody's business, is become an amateur sociologist or a people watcher. So go to a public pool, a spa, a place where people are perhaps, you know, not wearing a lot of clothes, right? So maybe they're wearing swimsuits or something like that. And notice how many different kinds of bodies you can see. There are so many different types of bodies, and find something to appreciate about each and every one of those bodies. I remember when it was very popular to talk about women's bodies in terms of fruit. I'm like, I am not fruit. I am human. Thank you very much. You know, pear, apple, carrot. I'm like, what the hell is that? No, we're not doing all that. But I think that's really valuable. I used to be someone who in the summertime would wear long sleeves because I didn't want anybody to see my arms. I wouldn't go swimming in public because I didn't want people to see the cellulite on my thighs. And that definitely has changed over the years. And I wrote a blog piece, it's probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was called The Right to Bear Arms, And it's a picture of me in a tank top, and you can see my arms, my fat, beautiful arms. And to me, that was like groundbreaking because it was an experiment. I basically said to myself, if I go out in public and wear this, are people going to say things about me? Nobody said a damn thing because nobody cares. Nobody cares about my fat arms except me. But for me, it was huge, and I had to do that to liberate myself. That act of courage, and it's ridiculous that that has to be courageous, but in a society that worships the thin ideal, being in a fat body is a courageous political act. And so when I am in spaces where I'm on a beach and I see different bodies, whether they're thin or fat or young or old or black or white or whatever, I really am able to look at those bodies, see their beauty, appreciate their uniqueness. It's powerful. It's really powerful. I mean, it starts to shift the way that I feel about myself. And it's funny because when I'm with girlfriends, and I am wearing a bathing suit or I'm wearing something that kind of shows a lot of skin, people always say the most beautiful things, right? And we talk to our friends in such a loving way. We talk to them in ways that we don't really talk to ourselves. And so I think that would be sort of another piece that goes along with this, that it's about observing other bodies, seeing their beauty, being that sociologist, and then also sort of bringing that kindness home, bringing that compassion home to your own body. This is your vessel. Like, this is where you live 24/7, 365. Think about that for a second. Like, this is where you live for the duration of your life. This is your body. Do you want to be at war, or do you want to be at peace? For me, I was at war for so many years, decades of being at war with this beautiful body. And the freedom that I feel today is a gift that I can't even put into words. But I also want to say that body positivity isn't about loving your body every single second of the day. That this is a journey, and that I have my moments of thinking, oh my God, maybe a diet would be the solution. But the difference is that I don't let myself go down the rabbit hole of that thinking, right? So I have to quickly pull myself out and go, did that, didn't work. So the question is, do I want to do the same thing over and over expecting a different result? Or am I willing to make a different choice? Am I willing to take some small step, right? And that small step could be just, again, curating your Instagram feed to look at bodies that look like yours. It could be canceling the subscription to the magazine that makes you feel like crap about yourself. There are too many resources available to us now that you really don't have to suffer all of the just sort of the hideousness that our society sort of puts on us, that, this patriarchal capitalistic society. Because when you think about diets, doctors acknowledge that diets don't work. I think a lot of people acknowledge that on a really big public level. And yet at the same time, we see the diet commercials, right? We see all of that. We see, especially after the new year, this whole thing about new year, new you. And it's like, I think the old me is just fine. Thank you very much. Because what new me means is thin me, person who doesn't eat anything but lettuce me. And that's not the person that I want to be. Like, if I had to describe myself as a food, I'm a cheesecake, bitch. Like, I don't want to be lettuce. I mean, if that's your thing, you go ahead and be lettuce. It's all good. Like, we can be whoever we want to be, right? I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I feel so passionate about this topic, especially when I am around friends or family who I know diet and do the diet talk a lot. I love being able to eat food in front of my family in particular, because I have felt triggered by them when it comes to this, and to eat it unapologetically. I remember hiding food, eating in secret, all of those things that are so tied to eating disorders, and the freedom I feel now of being able to just eat the food unapologetically. And if I eat something and it doesn't feel good, I don't beat myself up. It's eaten, it's gone, I'm moving on to the next thing. And I know that I'm saying that sort of nonchalantly, but it does take time and it does take work. But I also want you to know, if you take nothing else away from this, if you are struggling with an eating disorder, it is not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Okay. There are so many things that influence us in terms of the way that we see our bodies, right? Things that are not helpful. Food addiction, struggling with bulimia, anorexia, overeating, whatever you want to call it, is a real mental health issue. It's a mental health issue. And so, if we think about people who suffer with mental health disorders, let's say depression, or maybe they're struggling with bipolar, we don't say, hey, that's your fault. And I think it's important for us to really look at eating disorders in the same way and sort of demystify it and say, hey, this is not something that I can control. Because I think if you could stop yourself from having an eating disorder, then who the fuck wouldn't? Of course, nobody wants to suffer with that. It's extremely painful. So I want you to hear that. And so again, it's about neutralizing the way that we look at bodies. All bodies are good bodies. I want to just shout that from the rooftops. All bodies are good bodies. They absolutely are. Okay. So let's see. Next, I love this one. Buy a present for your body, wrap it, and write out a card explaining why your body deserves a thank you present. Okay. Let me start off by saying I love gifts. Who doesn't love gifts? and I love wrapping presents. Like that is one of the things that I love doing. I sometimes used to call myself the Black Martha Stewart. So I love the idea of going out and buying something. And please, you do not have to spend a lot of money. You could be at the 99-cent store. It doesn't matter. Buying something for yourself, taking the care and the time to wrap it beautifully with a ribbon, writing yourself a beautiful note about why you deserve that thing. And I would say that one of the main reasons we deserve things is that we are human, is that we are beautifully human, that we are deserving of love because of our mere existence. And that being loved, being accepted, being unapologetic about who you are is a human fucking right. So if no one's ever told you that, I'm telling you right now, it is your absolute right to be loved. It is your right to be in your body without apology, without persecution. So the idea of writing yourself like a beautiful card, get a gorgeous card, open that gift. And I would even take it further. I would record yourself giving yourself the gift, opening the gift, reading that card aloud, so that when you are having a really hard day, that's something that you can go back to and go, oh yeah, that's really powerful. That's really, really powerful. And, you know, I just love that idea. You know, we think about giving ourselves gifts. And, you know, the other thing is it doesn't even have to be a wrap gift. It could be, let's say you wanted to get a massage or a pedicure. Maybe you write yourself a card and you make yourself a little gift certificate that says, this is allowing me to go get a pedicure because my feet deserve love. They deserve to feel good because my toes are cute and they are going to be on fleek and I'm going to show the whole world. Whatever it is, right? Like find that thing that resonates for you. And don't wait for somebody else to give it to you. Give it to yourself, because what you're doing is you're teaching other people how they should be treating you. And I think that this is an exercise that is challenging, but in the best possible way. Because when we give a gift to ourselves, we are saying, I am worthy. And that anybody else who tries to come at us with anything less, boop, bye. Bye, Felicia, not interested. I hope that makes sense. I know I'm at a space in my life where I'm just not willing to accept less. I understand my worth. I understand that my body deserves to be in the sunshine and to feel the rays of the sun on my back, on my round belly, on my dimpled thighs. You know, I know that I deserve that. And I think doing all of these things help to fight diet culture, because what you're doing is when you're doing these things and the people around you are observing, you're leading by example. You are absolutely leading by example. Okay. And number 5, find art that features someone who looks like you. Display it where you'll see it often. So again, this is not about going out and buying an expensive piece of art, unless you have the means to do that, and that's what makes you feel good. I can recall doing that quite a lot, especially on Instagram, like looking at artwork by Bolero, or there's a guy who does fabulous art, African-American artist, and I think he's called the Moko Jumbi on Instagram. And I just started to see all of just the celebration of large bodies and the celebration of different kinds of bodies, of breasts that weren't perky, right? Of asses that weren't high and round, because mine sure isn't. And I found that to be really, really powerful. You know, so maybe it's even just on your phone or on your desktop, creating a carousel of images that you can look at whenever you need for inspiration. So that you can look at that and go, hey, I have a body that looks like that. That's pretty damn hot. So I love the idea of doing that. Wondering if any of you have ever done that before. Because I realize I haven't really paused to see if you all have questions. But I'd love to hear from you, like, what is an activity or an affirmation that you have that kind of gets your mind clear and gets you out of that space of the toxic diet culture? Would love to hear that from you guys. So those are the 5. So I'm just going to kind of go back over them quickly. And if you want to be reminded of what they are, you can also go to my blog, which is mixedfatchick.com. And the article is also there for you to be able to reference. Okay. So if you're joining late, we talked about spending time looking at photos on a body positive website. We talked about sending a thank you note to a plus size merchant or merchant that is body positive, becoming an amateur sociologist and just observing bodies of different sizes, seeing their beauty. We talked about buying a present for your body, wrapping it up in a fabulous manner and giving it to yourself. And then finding art that features a body that looks like yours. And I think there are other things that you can do that aren't listed in the article, but are absolutely in the book, Love It book. And one thing that pops into my mind right now is that sometimes we are often waiting for a community to show up instead of creating our own communities. And much in the same way that I think women and people of color have had to step up and create their own spaces, people of size, people who are struggling with accepting their bodies, start something in your own town, in your neighborhood, in your community. Even if it's just 1 or 2 people, create that space of positivity where you have that community to lean on. Because I know that for me, what's gotten me through this and what the blog has done for me is it's connected me to a community of people who are like-minded, who are also on that same path to loving themselves. And so when I'm having a hard day, I text someone, I post a message, and I can get the support and the love that I need. I just think that's so, so crucial. So let's see. What else did I want to say about this? Again, I just want to, if anyone has questions, just definitely type them and I'm happy to answer. We're kind of coming to a close. So I just want to remind folks that if you are interested in learning more about me, about my mission, that you can follow me on social media. So on Facebook, it's Chronicles of a Mixed Fat Chick. If you go to Instagram, it's @mixedfatchick. And then again, my website is mixedfatchick.com. So I blog a lot about body positivity. I blog about plus size style. And I also blog about intersectional feminism, which I think is a really, really big part of fighting diet culture. So I see that we've got Crystal and Nikki left. Ladies, anything that you want to ask or know? Crystal, I've known you for a while now. You have been an amazing supporter of mine. I deeply, deeply value the work that you do about making women feel good in their bodies and wearing sexy ass lingerie no matter what size they are. So I want to just thank you for your work. And I really want to just thank the Yoga and Body Image Coalition. I want to thank Nita. Hi Quita, how are you? And just really want to thank folks for their contributions, that it's really important for us to have diverse views and perspectives when we're talking about issues like this, because folks who suffer with eating disorders are not a monolith. We have diverse experiences. There are lots of reasons why we struggle to love our bodies. And so it's important for us to be able to share those stories with one another, that's where we find strength, is in our diversity. That's how we move forward. Quita, we are getting ready to end in a few minutes, but since you're here, would love to know if you have any questions, comments about body love, and just, about how you show up as a fabulous woman who, by the way, designs some of the most kick-ass kimonos I have ever seen in my life. She's a brilliant designer, in case you wanted to know that. And yeah, we are at 11:28. So I just want to thank everybody for showing up. I know that this time was hard for people to show up live, but I believe that this will be available to see later. And if you have questions, please feel free to DM me. You can also email me, mixedfatchick@gmail.com. If you have questions, comments, let me know what other topics would be of interest to you that I could cover on the blog. So I'm going to end by saying thank you for being in this space. I'm deeply grateful. I'm wishing you all a wonderful, joy-filled day. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Nikki says it'll be available to view at any time. So Yay! Oh, one more thing. Okay, Quita says, I grew up seeing larger bodies my whole life and I think they're beautiful. Hey, hey, I agree. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in, sending much love, and we'll talk soon. Bye.